And why don't you eat meat? Did you decide to become a vegetarian?
Good question. I got introduced to the idea of not eating meat when I took a college course in yoga. That was the first time, more or less, first time in my life when I met vegetarians. Although when I was a kid in Iran, I met a guy who was a raw eater. And he always had this special aura about him, which was kind of it was interesting, fascinating. There was something about this guy who was a raw eater. Okay, so yoga class, I felt, oh, that's not a bad idea. Let me try. So I tried not eating meat for a month. And then after I ate it, I could taste the blood, because especially red meat, it has blood in it. You know how if you cut your hand and you eat it, it has this irony taste. Meat has the same thing. But because you eat meat, so you don't really know the difference. But when you stop eating it for a month, for example, in my case, then you notice the difference. And it turned me off. I didn't like it. I didn't like that taste of blood. And then I noticed that I don't have any more stomach problems. I feel better, I feel lighter. And then I started studying it, learning about it, some of the research around the subject. And I realized that even doctors say, especially red meat, is not that good for you. White meat is better. No meat is even better. So for a while, I don't think I ate any meat, but for a while I had white meat, and then I stopped that altogether as well. And I realized that there are other reasons not to eat meat. So not just health reasons, but there's environmental reasons, because industrial cattle farming is very destructive to the environment. And more importantly is the ethical reason, because I don't have the heart I don't have the cruelty to go kill an animal myself. It's a very gruesome, ugly experience when you take life away from an animal, because it feels the pain, it's crying, it's a horrible experience. And then you get all that blood and it's terrible. So if I can't do it myself, and if I eat meat, basically I'm commissioning somebody else to do it in the background. So I'm supporting that whole ugly business, which hurts the environment as well and is not healthy for you. But keep in mind that even right now, this yam that I'm eating, look, I chopped it up. So I killed it in some ways. I'm destroying it. But there's different forms of killing. Even in the criminal justice system, excuse me, even in the criminal justice system, there is first-degree murder, second-degree murder. So this is like, I don't know, third or fourth-degree murder perhaps. But killing an animal for me is like a first-degree murder, is something like. So the idea is to minimize killing and minimize the suffering that we bring about to our fellow creatures. One of the funny things that happened when I was quitting meat altogether, I was not eating chicken either, except for like once a week or something. And every time I had chicken, that night I was scared, let's put it this way. At the same time, I was continuing to do yoga, my lifestyle had changed, I was eating healthily, I was not doing some things like consuming things which are not really healthy, artificial things, and so on and so forth. My general state of sensitivity had risen. So one of these chicken nights, I kind of became awake in the middle of the night, 3-4 in the morning. And I just quietly watched my body. And I saw it. I saw that my body was afraid. Like if somebody walks in this house with a gun, you get scared, you get all these hormones and stuff in your system. So my theory is when that chicken is getting killed, it gets scared. When you eat the meat, all those hormones, fear hormones, go inside your body. Because I had no other reason to be afraid. There was no bad dreams, there was nothing. It was just a pure physical sensation which normally I associate with fear, So that's another reason. So my theory is as long as you eat meat, the body has some subtle level of fear. And just because of the reasons I explained, because those animals that are killed are afraid. because they see it happening to their buddies. So this subtle level of fear is not recognized, I think, by most people. Because if you're living in a state all the time, you don't really recognize it. It's only when you step out that you actually, when you step out, then you come back in, then you see the difference. You see what I mean? And it's funny because it seems like our culture, our human culture, lives in a state of fear. Now, I'm not saying it's because of meat, because first of all, there are millions who don't eat meat. There's absolutely a very serious psychological reason behind it, and that is a whole different subject we can talk about, and that is over-dominance of thinking. Because we've grown up to become thinking machines. And when we think about things that thought was not made for, one of the things that happens is that thought creates fear. But this is psychological fear, and we can talk about that. But I also think there's a physical fear which is very present. And this contributes to the level of happiness, to the level of openness, you know. Like today, riding the train, when I was looking around me, most people were like really kind of down, you know, they looked a little bit depressed. There was a girl who was 2 years old, you know, she was the only one who was truly happy. And then I showed her the guitar and she was like, wow. And we were playing facial expressions with each other before, you know. Anyway, I'm not saying meat is the reason, but I think it's a factor in fear. Now, about fish, it happened that during these years when I was quitting white meat, once in a blue moon, I would get invited somewhere. Like once I had dinner at a friend's house, a garden party, and her mother found out that I don't eat meat, and they had prepared steak for everybody. So she went into the kitchen in the middle of the dinner and prepared fish for me, thinking that, oh, he eats fish, but I don't even eat fish. But I was under like pressure, you know. I felt bad about saying no thanks, you know. So I ate the fish, and that night I dreamed about a big fish getting stabbed and killed. It was more than a makeshift of thought. It was more than a illusion or gobbledygook dream. I think I at least felt like the consciousness of that fish, which was truly scared when it was killed. Maybe not by stabbing, or maybe I had tuned into that by eating that meat. And then the funny thing is, it happened again, one more time about fish. And like you're saying, you don't like the bones. I was in northern Iran by the Caspian Sea, which borders Russia actually. And they have like really great fish there. So my dad's friend says, oh, this is the best fish in the world, you have to have it. So I thought, hey, fine, you know. And then it was like separating the bones and the cartilages, and it was like, it's so gruesome and animalistic, you know. After a while of you not dealing with these animalistic things, it just doesn't feel right anymore. Anyway, so next. So you wanted to know about my family.
Yes.
What do you want to know? Like if I have brothers and sisters and things like that? I have one sister. She lives in Los Angeles. She teaches at the university. She has a doctorate in linguistics and 2 masters in linguistics and a bachelor's in, I think, linguistics. My father died not too long ago. My mother is also in Los Angeles and Tehran, and she travels, she comes to Switzerland.
You don't have wife or children?
No, I never married. I love women, but I never married. I didn't like the idea of signing a paper and promising something for the rest of my life, while ever since I was a kid and I grew up, everybody around me was saying, don't get married. Marriage is a mistake. I was a fool to get married. I was a donkey to get married. You know, friends and family. So this is what I heard all the time. And 50% of marriages break up. So why should I get into this obligation when I know the chances are so high that I was told all these things, and I've witnessed a lot of unhappy marriages. Yes, I have friends who are happily married, so a good marriage can be good. but I guess 50% divorce, and another probably 50% don't divorce, but they're not particularly happy with each other, or they get used to each other.
I have one question.
Please.
You can answer me or you can not answer me. I want to know how American people think about Russians.
Good question. Well, America has many people. Millions of people. So in general, there's a concept which you may know in English called stereotyping. Do you know what that means?
Yes.
And categorization, abstraction. So if I tell you something, it's not inherently false. If I tell you Americans like Russia, or if I tell you Americans don't like Russia, both of those statements are false because, for those statements to be true, every member of that set needs to like or dislike. Also, American society is very divided, both politically and also in terms of education. You have a group which is highly educated, very open-minded. I'm afraid to use this word, but liberal in their thinking. Now, liberty is a great word, it means freedom. But in these days, the word liberal is used as an insult, Some so-called conservatives, they call, oh, he's a liberal, like he's a thief, which is unfair. And they call themselves conservatives, whilst they're not at all conservative. Because conservatism, one of the meanings is to be very cautious. But these guys are many of them, leaders, take George Bush, who calls himself a conservative, extremely reckless. Okay, let's not get into politics. So from that sense, I think that people who are more educated and so on, they view Russia more like it is. But people who are less educated, they might have an image. And education doesn't mean degree. Let me make that clear. They might make an image and still associate Russia with communism. But Russia is not communist. They still think, oh, those commies, but they also don't know where Sweden is. They think Sweden is Switzerland, I heard that really, this is a true story, that American executive of a big company with his entourage took a flight to Stockholm while they were supposed to go to Zurich.
Yes, very strange. Sweden and Switzerland, in my opinion, very different countries.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it even has different names.
They have only in common two first letters, SW.
Yeah.
But nothing more.
Right.
And do you have plans to be a father?
Wow, that's a great question. I don't think so, to be honest. I don't have plans, but I'm not saying it would not happen. I mean, it would not happen accidentally, this I'm sure. But whether I get to a stage in life where I think, okay, I have enough of whatever I need to secure this kid's future, because when you have a kid, you have to think long term. You have to think, college and so on and so forth. Or that I have the means to provide that. Then maybe. But, finances has not been the reason why I haven't had a child. I haven't had a child because, first of all, I love kids, but other people's kids. You play with them and you enjoy them. I absolutely love kids. And then when they cry, well, actually, I'm not very bad with handling their crying, but the parents have to worry about taking them to doctor when they have diarrhea and when they don't sleep at night and this and that. So maybe, but so far it hasn't happened. Because I'm a very serious person, and I'm a responsible person. If I have a child, I want to be there for the child. I meet people all the time, especially, European single women who have, some foreigner man as a husband who just takes off because he's after the visa and the
Yes.
residency, and they even know it, but they still go for it because these guys, like some of them from some continent, are so charming and emotional, and this stuff sells. If you come to a place which is cold mountains, and people are very serious, lovely people, but it's just that state of emotionalism is not there. It's very thought dominated. Every little thing is thought out. So it's very deterministic society, which is wonderful for the physical world. You go to some of these countries and the tram is on time and it's clean, it's secure, and so on and so forth. But emotionally, for example, a Swiss musician who moved to the US, he says we've perfected the watches and the trains and so on, but we live in an emotional ghetto. Okay, this is what he said. So you bring somebody from Africa who is like poof, all emotions and nice body posture, and in terms of use of the self, he's not carrying those burdens that heavy done. And anyway, so these girls, some of the girls, they fall for it, and they even know this guy might not be around later, but they still go for it. So I'm not that kind of a person. If I have a kid, I want to be there. And that's I view it as a major project, especially in this day and age. A kid is very demanding in this day and age. You take her to the karate class and the language class and tennis and piano and guitar and and if you're living in Los Angeles, you have to drive the kid everywhere. And often there is no grandmother or aunt around. When I grew up, my mother had lots of help, from people around. So it's difficult, but I really admire those who have it, because we need new people in this world. We need good people.
And what countries have you already been to?
Well, I've been to around 73 or 74 countries. You want me to tell you which ones?
I think you like traveling, yes? Very much.
Yeah, I like traveling.
Is it your own? It is for work or for your...
Both.
Ah.
Both. For a while I was traveling for work extensively.
Mm.
And then I've traveled also for myself
For
extensively.
own interest, yes.
Yeah, both. But it's nice when you travel for work because they pay for everything, and they put you in 5-star or 4-star hotels. I had one job where they said in the interview, they said, "Do you mind taking a helicopter to work?" I was like, "No, that's okay. I can live with that." So.
Do you go in for sports or do...
Sports?
Yes.
Sports are very important, for both physical and mental health. It strengthens your everything. So I lift some weights at home. I have dumbbells.
Mm-hmm.
So just for muscular training. I do yoga almost every day, but not quite. If I have the luxury of time, I do it every day, and I go for walks.
Mm.
And more or less. Yeah, I used to ski, but I'm kind of burned out on skiing.
And do you watch sports? Any sports?
No.
No.
I like to watch football, soccer, but I never have the time. So it's been like World Cups where I've only watched like the final and the semi-final. Just because I don't have the time. Yeah.
I have much time and I like to watch sports on TV.
Okay. Which sports do you like to watch?
I don't have the favorite sports.
Mm-hmm.
I like sports at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't like boxing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's too aggressive.
And especially I don't like professional boxing.
Right.
Because it is bounded. It is linked with politics, with money.
Mafia,
yes.
Sometimes, yeah.
And I don't like it. But in other, I think I love football, of course. I like biathlon.